Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison LaGrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. US President Donald Trump says Washington has lost New Delhi and Moscow to deepest, darkest China, as he wishes the two countries a long and prosperous future together, just days after the SCO summit in Tianjin. Mumbai police are on high alert after receiving a threat message warning of bomb explosions across the city, reportedly from terrorists in Pakistan. Authorities say all preventative measures are being taken. The Israeli military says it will strike high-rises in Gaza City in the coming days, claiming to have identified significant Hamas activity across various infrastructure in the city. Japan and Australia's foreign and defense ministers meet in Tokyo, pledging to elevate security cooperation, weeks after Canberra accepted a Japanese proposal to build warships worth over $6 billion. And the Philippine President, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., signs a new law allowing foreigners to lease land for up to 99 years in a bid to attract investment to the Southeast Asian nation. Hello and welcome. We start with the latest from Australia, where anti-immigrant protests continue to make headlines, even after the largest demonstrations wrapped up over the weekend. A viral video from Sydney protest shows an Indian immigrant taking the stage wearing a yellow Australia t-shirt. Despite boos from the crowd, he addressed the demonstrators, saying, and I quote, "Yes, I am a brown man. Yes, I am an immigrant from India. And I came here for the right reasons." The Indian man continued saying, and I quote, "Immigration is not about taking but giving, not demanding but respecting," unquote. The man claimed that what's happening in Australia is not immigration, but an open-door policy in which anyone can come in and claim a spot. Even though the Indian man was siding with the protesters, his speech was abruptly interrupted. Another protester grabbed his microphone, creating chaos on stage. Others quickly intervened, and while the footage cuts off, reports say the Indian man returned to continue his remarks. Online reactions to the video have been divided. Some praised him for calling for respect and assimilation into Australian culture, while others sided with those who interrupted his speech, suggesting it may have to do with the fact the man is of Indian heritage. In the past few days, anti-immigration rallies have drawn thousands, with organizers calling for a 5-year pause to immigration. Many such protests have turned violent, with police responding with pepper spray to control the demonstrators. Far-right figures, including the ones identified as neo-Nazis by the Albanese government, were also present, amplifying concerns about extremist influence on the demonstrations. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese condemned the gatherings, calling them hateful. At the same time, the government data tells a different story than anti-immigration protesters. Net overseas migration for the year 2023 to 24 stood at 446,000, down from a peak of 536,000 the previous year. Australia is also home to a diverse population, with nearly half either born overseas or having at least one parent born abroad, adding layers to the ongoing debate about immigration, integration, and national identity. Earlier today, India's Ministry of External Affairs also reacted to these protests. India said it has discussed the matter with Australia, underlining Canberra's swift acknowledgement of these protests as a concern for the country's diverse communities. India said the government is committed to the welfare and well-being of all Indians abroad, and it remains engaged with Australian government as well as the diaspora on this matter. As tensions continue, authorities and community leaders are urging calm. And with this, the current immigration debate continues to remain a key challenge for Prime Minister Albanese and his Labour Party. And shifting focus to ties between the US and Taiwan. Reports say Washington and Taipei held secret talks in Alaska days before China flexed its military muscle in a massive Victory Day parade. The meeting in Anchorage was reportedly attended by the Pentagon's top Indo-Pacific official and Taiwan's then Deputy National Security Advisor. The secretive lower-level meeting came after Washington cancelled talks with Taiwanese Defense Minister in June. From the US side, a top defense policy official was to attend the talks. Washington attributed the last-minute cancellation of the June talks to its airstrikes on Iran. However, reports suggest that some US officials opposed the Taiwanese defense minister's visit. They argued that it could impact the prospect of a future summit between US President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. The US is reportedly averting moves that could derail talks with China. US officials have reportedly been instructed to freeze anti-China measures. This, as Washington and Beijing are currently trying to navigate a trade war triggered by tariffs. According to analysts, Washington may be trying to assert support for Taiwan in a way that doesn't tamper with a potential trade deal with China. Now, this is not the first time the Trump administration seems to be prioritizing talks with China over Taiwan. In 2019, Trump reportedly delayed signing a deal to sell F-16 fighter jets to Taiwan till the US had concluded trade talks with China. Meanwhile, Taiwanese officials attributed the change in plans to the need to submit a special budget for arms purchases to Parliament. The US policies may have put Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te in a tougher spot than his predecessors, who enjoyed much closer ties with the Biden administration. But to firm its resolve against China, the Taiwanese government has proposed a record increase in its defense budget. The island pitched a 23% increase in defense spending last month. This would bring the defense budget to over 3% of GDP next year. The proposal aligns with Taipei's bid to convince the US about its determination to pay for its defense. China considers Taiwan a part of its territory. It has not renounced the use of force to bring the island under its control. Chinese forces often conduct exercises in the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan remains one of the most important and sensitive topics in US-China relations. Now, even though Washington has downgraded the level of meeting with Taipei, it continues to remain a key international ally for the island. Now, whether this would affect the efforts by the US and China to build trade ties or not, that remains to be seen. And shifting focus to the Ukraine-Russia war. In the latest, Paris hosted a summit with European leaders on post-war security for Kiev, with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in attendance. And during the summit of what is described as the coalition of the willing, over 24 nations vowed security guarantees for Ukraine once the war ends. French President Emmanuel Macron said the nations have pledged to take part in a force to be deployed in Ukraine. He added that these forces do not seek to wage any war on Russia and would not be deployed on the front lines. Instead, they will deter Russia from attacking its neighbor again.
We have today 26 countries that have formally committed, with several others to clarify their position, but 26 countries committed to deploy as a reassurance force troops in Ukraine or to be present on the ground, at sea, in air, in order to bring this reassurance to the Ukrainian territory and to Ukraine the day after a ceasefire or peace.
Macron also spoke about the regeneration of the Ukrainian army, a concern that was also raised by Zelensky. He said that Kiev and its allies have a general vision for security guarantees against any potential future aggression by Russia. He also blamed his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin for not making a peace deal.
Everyone sees that Russia rejects every peace initiative and that Putin has so far not agreed to peace. The general framework has been agreed on. We also understand that security guarantees are not only about the future, they are about here and now. A strong Ukrainian army will be the central element of security guarantees.
The summit of 35 nations was attended by some leaders in person, while others, like UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, joined remotely. And countries like Germany and Italy have not committed to sending troops to Ukraine. Following the meeting, European leaders also spoke to US President Donald Trump. Washington is yet to ascertain its stand on providing security guarantees to Ukraine.
We also held a call with President Trump, in which we were able to establish all of this. The conclusion of this call is simple. In the following days, we will finalize the American support to these security guarantees. As I said, the United States is involved in every step of this process.
The summit comes at a time when Donald Trump is planning to hold talks with Putin.
Your phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky today, do you plan to speak with Russia's President Putin in the near future?
I will be, yeah, I will be. We're having a very good dialogue.
The Paris summit also came in the backdrop of pressure that the European Union faces to step up its response to the 3.5-year-long war on its doorstep. The meeting not only reflected the resolve of the European nations, but also represented a new Macron-led push to show that Europe can act independently of the US. Since Trump upended US foreign policy and launched direct talks with Putin, a move that the Biden administration never initiated. However, EU pledge to deploy troops in Ukraine post-war received a strong rebuttal from Russian leader Putin. In a warning to the West, Putin said foreign troops deployed to Ukraine would be legitimate targets for Russia.
Regarding potential foreign military contingents in Ukraine, it is one of the root causes behind drawing Ukraine into NATO. Therefore, if some troops appear there, especially now, during military operations, we proceed from the fact that these will be legitimate targets for destruction.
The Russian leader did not rule out direct talks with Zelensky, but Putin has repeatedly questioned the Ukrainian leader's legitimacy to lead the country.
I've said I'm ready. Please, come. We will absolutely ensure working conditions and safety, 100% guarantee. But when they tell us, we want to meet with you, but you must travel to such and such location, I believe these are simply excessive demands directed at us. I repeat, if anyone genuinely wishes to meet with us, we are ready. The best place for this is the capital of the Russian Federation, hero city of Moscow.
Ahead of the summit, NATO chief Mark Rutte had said that Russia did not have a veto on the Western powers' bid to deploy troops to Ukraine. Now, as leaders huddle and build frameworks for future peace with security guarantees for Ukraine, a raging war continues to batter the country and its people. And finally, we turn to Thailand. The political landscape of the tourism-dependent Southeast Asian nation is shifting dramatically. Thailand now has a new prime minister after a key parliamentary vote, while one of the country's most influential former leaders has quietly left the country. Now, earlier today, lawmakers elected the construction tycoon Anutin Charnvirakul as the country's next prime minister. The 58-year-old conservative leader secured the majority of votes in the 492-seat National Assembly. The new prime minister enters the office by stitching together opposition blocs and winning the support of the largest parliamentary party, but under the condition that Parliament will be dissolved for fresh elections within 4 months.
I can confirm that I will not let everyone's intentions and sacrifices be for nothing, and we will uphold these 5 agreements made with the People's Party throughout the 4 months since we began working as the government.
Anutin is best known for serving as Health Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, and for legalizing cannabis in 2022, a move that made global headlines and earned him the title of Cannabis King. But his path to power only opened up last week when the Constitutional Court sacked Paetongtarn Shinawatra, the daughter of the former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, for breaching ethics while speaking to a Cambodian leader at a time when the two countries were at conflict. Now, she lasted just a year in office. The Shinawatra dynasty has dominated Thai politics for more than 2 decades, relying on a populist base of rural and working-class voters. But in recent years, the family has faced repeated legal and political setbacks, often clashing with the pro-military and pro-monarchy establishment. And in a striking contrast, just hours before Parliament's vote, Thaksin Shinawatra himself flew out of Thailand on a private jet. The 76-year-old former Prime Minister said that he was heading to Dubai for medical treatment. After first diverting through Singapore, his departure comes just days before a crucial Supreme Court ruling that could put him behind bars. The case concerns about the time when Thaksin Shinawatra returned to Thailand in 2023 after 15 years in exile. He was immediately ordered to serve an 8-year sentence for graft and abuse of power. He was later pardoned by the king and granted early release on health grounds, a process now under judicial review. Thaksin has said that he will return to Thailand before the verdict is handed down. The court hearing is scheduled for the 9th of September. As the Shinawatras face political ouster one after another, the spotlight remains on the new Prime Minister and the coming 4 months, during which he has promised to usher in a period of political stability before fresh elections. The back-to-back developments underline the volatility of Thai politics. A new leader takes charge of a country where 5 prime ministers have been removed by the judiciary over the past 17 years, and whose economy has struggled to regain momentum after the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, a dynasty that once dominated is now on the defensive. And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again at the same time on Monday. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.